Was Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League a worthy successor to Batman Arkham Knight? And that's what we'll be talking about today. Obviously, in short answer, no, it was not a worthy successor to Batman Arkham Knight. Obviously, this game was the highly anticipated successor to the critically acclaimed Batman Arkham Knight and really the Arkham franchise, as it was a new take on the Batman universe featuring a team of anti-heroes instead of the Dark Knight. And with Suicide Squad, the game promised an explosive, action-packed experience with a focus on co-op. And for the most part, they tried their best. I would say the co-op experiment of the game was pretty fun, but everything else kind of fell flat. And why was that? It's because, obviously, Arkham Knight established a high benchmark for superhero games, setting a standard for storytelling, atmosphere, and gameplay. Suicide Squad aimed to build upon that foundation, while, they introduced a ton of new elements to try and build anticipation. But once again, like what I said, it kind of just fell flat and ended up being more of a negative than a positive, as the story-based, games that we were all known to love from Rocksteady was kind of just thrown out the window for this new live service approach. The game had potential, though, to really carve its own identity and to be really its own standalone thing aside from the Arkham verse. But the thing is, after Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, now that it's been out for a year, here we are back, wanting more Batman related games, or really just something new entirely. But with Suicide Squad failing, here we are going back to basics with a new Batman game. And I think, back to the question of, was this game, a worthy successor? Obviously it wasn't, but I think in hindsight, in reality, the game was inevitably doomed to fail no matter what happened, even if it was a good game. Because when you compare it to Batman Arkham Knight, which I've mentioned, which is practically perfect in every single way a superhero game can be, and then when you compare that to what Suicide Squad was, obviously fan perception would have been, doomed from the start. Even if Kill the Justice League happened to be a decent game, a good game, even if it was received positively than what it did, I think fans still would have been asking the same question of, why did we get this? Why didn't we get a Batman Arkham game? Why didn't, they continue on the perfection of what Batman Arkham Knight, stood for and what it was? And honestly, it has me pretty nervous for Rocksteady's next Batman Arkham title, because it's not a bad thing, but it's just Arkham Knight is so good. It just doesn't compare to anything else. So when Kill the Justice League released and it was already sort of a disaster, it was just really a ticking time bomb before everything just went wrong. And, with their next game, knowing that it's Batman, it's going to be, I feel, really hard to replicate what Batman Arkham Knight was. And, we're going to be comparing the two when that game eventually releases, and we'll be asking the same question of, will Batman Arkham, whatever it's called, we'll just say Batman Arkham Beyond, for filler. Will Batman Arkham Beyond be a worthy successor to Batman Arkham Knight? And, because obviously, Suicide Squad wasn't, that's obvious. But, it's just, we honestly, since with Arkham Knight being so perfect and really just the golden standard for every single superhero game that releases, it's just Rocksteady really has to, make something better than that. But then it's like, man, how do they replicate that? How do they, get to that point again of what they were, where they were with Batman Arkham Knight? Because, man, like, Batman Arkham Knight is just so good, and you can't really deny it. It's just that good. Even Batman Arkham Asylum, even Batman Arkham City. But it's just like, Batman Arkham Knight still gets talked about to this day, which is why I think, even if Kill the Justice League, like I've said it time and time again, even if the game was successful, I don't think people would have even bothered with it much, because it's just like, why play this when we can play Arkham Knight? Arkham Knight is the superior game. And, it opens up the question, like, just, man, they really have to be perfect in everything they do for their next Batman game. And it has me a bit nervous because, I kind of think of a very similar situation of, Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto 6. It's like, obviously it's like we all know and think and assume that Grand Theft Auto 6 will be great, but it's like, will it live up to what Grand Theft Auto 5 was? And, the question is, maybe not. And it's literally the exact same thing. Obviously, it's not on a big scale, but, it's a pretty big deal because, Rocksteady was really revolutionary in what they did with the Batman Arkham trilogy. And, it's kind of, I feel like, coming back to haunt them in a way because they can't move on and make a different genre of a game, because they just perfected this Arkham style just to perfection, to where every single superhero game tries to take a piece and copy something from the Arkham trilogy now. We see it all the time. But as I'm just kind of sitting here rambling on and on, what do you guys think? Obviously, we all know, the main question of this video, like, was Suicide Squad a worthy successor to Arkham Knight? No, not even close. But it opens up the question of, will, obviously, filler, will Batman Arkham Beyond, or whatever the next Batman game is, will it be a worthy successor to Batman Arkham Knight? Will it, be as great as Arkham Knight was, or, will it not? It's just, that's the main question. And obviously, when time passes, we'll have to wait and see. But it's just, for me at least, thinking about it, it's like, man, Rocksteady can't screw it up. They can't screw it up because, if they screw it up, it's kind of like people aren't really going to trust them again when it comes to superhero games, especially if they mess up Batman, because they did so well with Batman. If they mess up Batman, then that's really about it. But, enough rambling from me. I don't want this video to be too long. Anyways, though, this is Pineapple Sway. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know, do you guys think that the Batman, or the next Batman game, will be, worthy, a successor to Arkham Knight? And if there is someone out there that, thinks Suicide Squad was a worthy successor to Arkham Knight, let me know. I'm always happy to hear people's thoughts and opinions, especially for this game, since I just enjoy uploading it and talking about it. But anyways, peace out, everybody. I'll see you guys next time.